child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. These words by Malala Yousafzai remind us of the immense power each individual holds when given the gift of education. Similarly, as Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Today, as we explore the role of education, these words are not just quotes, they are calls to action. A very warm welcome to one and all gathered here. I am Santhosh Immanuel, studying 8th grade. Today, I am going to talk about the role of education, global eyes, local roots. Before I start, let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever been confused on whether we should aim for global education to connect to the world or local education to stay true to our own community? I once had the same dilemma, but an experience taught me that we do not have to choose one over the other. A few months ago, our school conducted a project on sustainable living. I eagerly searched the internet for global ideas, solar cities in Europe and green roofs in Singapore. They all seemed fascinating, but when I tried to apply them to my small town, it seemed impossible. Then, one weekend, I visited my grandfather's village. There, I saw something simple yet powerful. People used clay pots to cool water, grew vegetables in their own backyards, and reused every single bit of waste. I realized that the solutions I was looking for globally already existed locally, practiced by people who never even studied sustainability in textbooks. That moment changed how I saw education. I realized that education must not only connect us to the world, but also help us value what lies around us. Today, many students face the same problem of being disconnected. They chase global knowledge without honoring their roots, or they stick only to local customs without exploring the world. We need an education that combines global awareness with local wisdom, one that teaches us to learn from the world and apply it meaningfully to our own communities. Education is the foundation of human progress. Globally, individuals with higher education earn, on average, 10% more for every additional year of schooling, according to the World Bank. Education improves health, reduces poverty, and empowers women. A UNESCO study found that if all girls complete secondary school, child marriages could drop by 64% and child deaths by more than half. Education quite literally saves lives. It also transforms societies. Countries with higher literacy rates tend to have stronger democracies, more innovation, and greater economic growth. A 1% increase in a country's literacy can raise a country's GDP by up to 2.5%. In Finland, for example, sustained investment in education has built one of the world's most equitable and high-performing systems, while in Singapore, education reform has turned a small island nation into a global innovation hub. But education's impact goes beyond statistics. It builds empathy, awareness, and the capacity to understand a world far bigger than our immediate surroundings. In an age of global challenges, climate change, misinformation, and inequality, education gives us not just knowledge but the wisdom to act responsibly. So, the question arises, how do we teach students to think globally while staying grounded locally? The answer lies in balance, by exposing them to global ideas while connecting those lessons to their own culture and community. By doing so, we create learners who are both globally aware and locally responsible. All these global examples show how education transforms societies. But sometimes its real power is felt not in reports or reforms but in small moments, like what happened during a school project of mine. A few years ago, after a heavy monsoon, the river near our town overflowed and flooded several nearby areas. I remember my friends and I watching the news and wondering, why does this keep happening every year? Our science teacher turned that question into a challenge. She asked us to research flood prevention for our annual school exhibition. I was paired with Liam, a student who had recently moved to India from Canada. He was new to our school, and though he had quickly adapted, his way of thinking was very different from ours. When we started brainstorming, Liam suggested using advanced flood systems he'd studied in geography class back in Canada. Large dams, laser sensors, and automated barriers. They all sounded fascinating, but when I tried to apply them to my small town, it seemed impossible. I told him about what my grandparents had described. How villagers used to dig small canals and build earthen check dams to guide water safely back to villages. Liam was intrigued. So, we decided to combine our ideas to blend traditional Indian methods with the precision of modern design. Using clay, sand, and waste craft materials, we built miniature models that tested both approaches. Liam added simple measuring tools he'd learned about abroad, while I shaped the terrain based on local patterns I'd seen near the riverbank. To our surprise, the traditional method, strengthened by a few modern tweaks, worked almost as efficiently as the high-tech systems we'd seen online. That small project changed how I saw education. I realized that education must not only connect us to the world, but also help us value what lies around us. True education lies in connecting global knowledge with local knowledge to create solutions that are both relevant and transformative. This is what I call global eyes, local roots, learning from the world while staying connected to your own community. Global eyes symbolize awareness, empathy, and adaptability in an interconnected world. Local roots represent heritage, language, community values, and identity. In today's interconnected world, education bridges these two. Globalization has reshaped classrooms. Over 1.5 billion students were affected by school closures during the COVID-19 pandemic. Yet, online platforms connect students across continents. A child in Ghana could learn coding from MIT, while a student in Japan could study Indian literature. Education has become borderless. As W.B. Yeats once said, education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. We now face a paradox. We are raising global citizens, yet we must preserve cultural authenticity. The 21st century classroom must navigate interconnectedness, pluralism, hybridism, and cosmopolitanism, concepts that reflect both shared humanity and local identity. This is what I call pedagogical symbiosis, a balance where global ideas meet local realities, creating learning that is both relevant and transformative. A student who learns about global health through local nutrition projects or who explores global trade through their own town's economy begins to see how interconnected the world truly is. Education today is not about memorization but synthesis. It asks, how can knowledge travel across cultures while respecting context? How can technology connect us without disconnecting us from who we are? A global perspective encourages critical thinking and inclusivity. It challenges stereotypes, builds empathy, and opens minds. Consider a classroom in Kenya that studied water scarcity. Students researched international desalination methods and compared them with traditional rainwater harvesting used by local farmers. The outcome? A hybrid solution using both modern engineering and indigenous wisdom. Affordable, sustainable, and community driven. This is what global learning rooted in local relevance looks like. It's not imitation, it's innovation through adaptation. Global learning also fosters empathy. Research by OECD shows that students engaged in cross-cultural learning programs demonstrate 30% higher levels of empathy and social awareness. When students collaborate with peers from other countries, even virtually, they learn that perspectives differ, but values like kindness, respect, and responsibility are universal. By seeing the world through global eyes, students learn that problems such as climate change, migration, and inequality require cooperation beyond borders. Yet, by keeping local roots, they ensure that global solutions respect cultural diversity and community needs. While global exposure broadens the mind, local roots anchor the soul. Our traditions, community stories provide moral grounding and identity. Without them, learning risks becoming detached from real life. Countries like New Zealand have seen increased classroom participation after integrating Maori principles such as Whana Ongatanga, relationship and kinship into their teaching practices. In Finland, lessons often include local ecology and seasonal activities, strengthening both curiosity and environmental awareness. And in India, schools incorporating regional history and folk traditions report higher attendance and motivation. UNESCO's Global Education Monitoring Report highlights that education systems rooted in local culture show 25% better student engagement and 40% better long-term retention compared to culturally neutral curricula. When students see their language, traditions, and environment reflected in lessons, they develop not just academic skills but a deep sense of belonging and pride. Local knowledge is not outdated. It is wisdom refined by generations. When fused with global science and technology, it ensures that global solutions respect cultural diversity and community needs. Yet, balance is not easy. In today's interconnected world, education systems often struggle to find the right blend between global exposure and local relevance. According to UNESCO, over 70% of national curricula worldwide now include significant global themes such as sustainability and digital literacy, but only 30% include significant local cultural content. Too much global influence can dilute cultural identity, leading to a loss of linguistic diversity and cultural homogeneity. In fact, according to the UN, one language disappears every 2 weeks, taking with it a unique worldview. On the other hand, too much local focus can isolate students from global opportunities, limiting creativity, competitiveness, and innovation. The challenge is not merely academic, it is philosophical. How do we raise global citizens who still honor their roots? Teachers, governments, and curriculum designers must consciously weave global knowledge with traditional wisdom to create solutions that are both worldly and grounded, innovative yet authentic, a true harmony of identity and insight. When I think about this balance, I imagine education as a bridge, one side reaching out to the vast ocean of global knowledge and the other firmly rooted in the soil of our own culture. If we lean too far toward the ocean, we risk being swept away by waves of uniformity. However, if we cling only to the shore, we never discover new horizons. True education stands in the middle of their bridge, learning from the world while nurturing the wisdom of home. Because in the end, it is not the clash of global and local that defines us, but the conversation between them. Future classrooms will blend global collaboration with local action. According to the World Economic Forum, nearly 1 billion young people will enter the workforce by 2030, many in jobs that do not even exist today. To prepare for that future, education must go beyond technical skill. It must nurture empathy, adaptability, and cultural intelligence, the human abilities that machines cannot replicate. Future classrooms will blend global collaboration with local action. Students will co-create climate solutions, share cultural stories through virtual exchanges, and tackle global issues from their own communities. Imagine a child in Ghana partnering with one in Japan to design a solar-powered irrigation system that benefits both their villages. Teachers will remain the bridge. Mentors will connect heart with knowledge, global with local. Because the next frontier of education is not just technology. It is humanity empowered by understanding. Technology will continue to transform classrooms in unprecedented ways. By 2030, AI and adaptive learning platforms are expected to support over 60% of students worldwide, providing personalized lessons, instant feedback, and collaborative problem-solving opportunities across continents. The challenge will be ensuring accessibility for all students. Virtual reality and augmented reality will allow students to explore ecosystems, historical sites, and laboratories from their own classrooms, bridging global experience with local context. Yet, as exciting as technology is, it must remain a tool, not a replacement for human curiosity, mentorship, and ethical thinking. The challenge will be ensuring accessibility for all students so that innovation does not widen the gap between privileged and marginalized communities. We must not choose whether to learn globally or locally, but weave them into one harmonious identity. Let us empower students to embrace the world's knowledge while honoring their roots. Let us design classrooms that are bridges, not boundaries, where lesson learned in one language can inspire understanding in another. Our mission as educators, learners, and dreamers is to build a generation that is informed, inclusive, and inspired. A generation that can look outward with curiosity, yet inward with pride. Let our eyes embrace the world, but let our roots hold us firm, so that education may not only open our minds, but also deepen our belonging. In learning about the world, may we never forget where our story began. Thank you.